Welcome, one and all, to another intriguing episode of Restless Killers and Mysteries with Roger Heilig. I'm your host, Roger Heilig, guiding you through the labyrinth of unsolved crimes and enigmatic disappearances with a dash of charm, wit, and a cup of strong coffee. Today's show is graciously sponsored by Beyond the Grassy Knoll: How JFK's Death Changed American Society Forever by A.M. Wolfe, available now on Amazon and Audible. Trust me, if you think Maura Murray's case is a mind-bender, the insights in that book will keep your investigative gears spinning long after you've turned the last page. Now, on to today's mystery. Buckle up, folks, because we're diving headfirst into the perplexing disappearance of Maura Murray. For those not in the know, Maura's case is like a real-life game of Clue, except much more chilling and with no Colonel Mustard in sight. Over the next 40 minutes, we'll unravel the threads of Maura's enigmatic life, trace the timeline of her last day, sift through the theories swirling around her vanishing act, all while delivering my signature dose of dry humor and skepticism. Whether you're a seasoned sleuth or totally fresh to Maura Murray's story, I promise this journey will be as fascinating as it is confounding. So pull your detective caps a little tighter, pour yourself another cup of that coffee, and let's get to the bottom, or at least a few layers closer, to what really happened to Maura Murray. Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982, in Hampshire, Massachusetts, to Fred and Lori Murray. She was the fourth of 5 children, and she grew up in a close-knit family. From a young age, Maura was known for her determination, intelligence, and athleticism. She excelled in academics and was an impressive athlete, particularly in cross-country running. Maura attended West Point, a prestigious military academy, for a year before transferring to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. Her move to UMass allowed her to be closer to her family and continue pursuing her passion for helping people. Friends described Maura as driven, kind-hearted, and someone who always tried to do her best. But even someone as bright as Maura faced challenges. At UMass, she had a couple of run-ins with the law, and it's believed she was dealing with personal issues. Despite these bumps, she seemed to be marching on with her life, doing what most college students do, balancing school, work, and relationships. Now, the days leading up to Maura's disappearance are a bit murky. On the night of February 5, 2004, she left her job at a campus security desk after being visibly upset during a phone call. She had reportedly received bad news, but the details of that call remain unclear to this day. To anyone who knew her, Maura was showing signs that something was troubling her deeply. On Monday, February 9, 2004, Maura emailed her professors and work supervisors, informing them of a family emergency and that she would be gone for a week. This was a key moment, indicating she had plans to go somewhere urgently. She then packed up her belongings, including textbooks, makeup, and a week's worth of clothes. Maura also withdrew $280 from an ATM and bought some alcohol from a nearby liquor store. Surveillance footage shows her doing so, seemingly calm and collected. Maura then set out in her black 1996 Saturn sedan, heading north on Interstate 91. By the late afternoon, she was seen in New Hampshire. This was unusual since she had no known connections there. At 7:27 p.m., her car crashed on Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A resident who heard the crash called the police at 7:29 p.m., and another local passerby who stopped to check on Maura around 7:30 p.m. was told by Maura that she had already called for roadside assistance, which wasn't true. The crash site itself was a bit puzzling. Maura's car had hit a tree, and though she appeared to be uninjured, she was nowhere to be found when police arrived at 7:46 p.m., just minutes later. All her belongings, including those she'd packed, her ATM card, and her alcohol purchases, were left in the car. Strangely, her phone was missing, which she had used earlier while still on campus that same day. The investigation into Maura's disappearance revealed that there was no sign of foul play at the crash scene, and the surrounding area was thoroughly searched by K9 units and aerial surveys. Despite this, no trace of Maura was found, turning what could have been a simple missing persons case into an enduring mystery. Her family and friends have speculated various reasons behind her sudden departure, from the idea of wanting to escape her troubles, to the possibility of meeting someone in New Hampshire for an unknown purpose. Some even believe she may have staged her own disappearance. To this day, there isn't a definitive answer to why she left or what happened to her after the crash. Maura's case has garnered widespread attention over the years, becoming a focus of countless documentaries, podcasts, and online sleuths. There have been numerous leads and tips, but none have led to a concrete resolution. Despite the passing years, the quest to uncover the truth about Maura Murray remains active, with her family and supporters still holding out hope that one day, the mystery will be unraveled. Alright folks, buckle up because we're diving deep into the timeline of events on the day Maura Murray disappeared. If you're not familiar with the case, don't worry, I've got you covered. Picture this: it's February 9, 2004, and a series of baffling events begins to unfold. Maura, a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, seems to vanish into thin air. First, let's rewind to the start of that Monday. Maura emailed her professors and employer, telling them there was a death in her family and that she would be away for a week. Quick spoiler, no one in Maura's family had really passed away. Why would she fabricate such a story? That's one of the many mysteries we're dealing with here. Around 1 p.m., Maura withdrew $280 from an ATM. Surveillance footage captured her alone, looking composed. Then she went to a local liquor store and bought about $40 worth of alcohol, red wine, Kahlua, Bailey's Irish Cream, and vodka. Again, she's seen alone, showing no signs of distress. Fast forward to sometime between 3:15 and 3:40 p.m., Maura leaves the university campus in her black 1996 Saturn sedan, heading north on Interstate 91. Destination? Unknown? Here's where things get really strange. At approximately 7:27 p.m., Maura's car was involved in a single vehicle accident on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. She crashed into a snowbank. It's a rural area, and the surrounding evening was cold and dark. A nearby resident, a bus driver named Butch Atwood, approached Maura and offered help. He said she appeared shaken but uninjured. Maura declined his offer and assured him she had already called for roadside assistance. However, phone records later showed no such call was made. Around 7:30 p.m., another neighbor reported the accident to the police. Between 7:42 and 7:46 p.m., a Haverhill police sergeant arrived at the scene, but Maura was nowhere to be found. Inside the car, he discovered empty beer bottles and the printed directions to Burlington, Vermont. So let's piece it together. From the time of the crash to the arrival of law enforcement, we've got a thin 10-minute window during which Maura evaporated into the night. Some believe Maura accepted a ride from a passing vehicle. Others propose she intentionally disappeared. Could she have walked away to a nearby destination? Local searches and K9 units picked up her scent about 100 yards east of the crash site. Then nothing. It's like she was plucked out of existence. Let's not forget the phone calls made earlier that day. There's one to a fellow nursing student, and another to the owner of a rented condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, known for its proximity to hiking trails, which Maura loved. Was she planning a retreat to clear her mind, or was something more sinister at play? At 4:49 p.m. on February 10th, her boyfriend received a voicemail he described as vaguely like Maura sobbing. It was traced to a prepaid calling card issued in the town where she vanished, but police couldn't determine who made the call. It added yet another layer to the thick fog of mystery. Then, in the days following her disappearance, Maura's family and friends arrived to search for her. Despite their efforts, no concrete clues materialized. The Appalachian Trail, located not far from the crash site, was scoured intensely. The case drew national media attention, but still, no substantial leads. So there you have it, folks. In a nutshell, the day Maura Murray disappeared is marked by odd decisions, questionable actions, and gaping uncertainties. But the story doesn't end here. There are theories and speculations to untangle, and we will dissect those in the next segment. So stay with me, because this labyrinth of mystery is far from being solved. Alright folks, let's dive into the rabbit hole of theories and speculations surrounding the enigmatic case of Maura Murray. Now, put on your detective hats, because things are about to get interesting. First up, we've got what I like to call the walkaway theory. This one's pretty straightforward. Some folks believe that Maura, burdened by a few recent struggles, just decided to leave her old life behind. Just picture it. A young woman, fed up with the pressures of nursing school and personal upheavals, escapes to start fresh somewhere new. While it seems logical on the surface, we have to ask, how likely is it for someone to completely vanish without a trace in today's interconnected world? Next, we swing to the abduction theory. According to this view, Maura fell victim to foul play after her car went off the road on that cold New Hampshire night. Perhaps she was picked up by a nefarious passerby. There are stories from neighbors in the area mentioning a suspicious car seen driving by multiple times around the time frame of her disappearance. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's just the kind of detail that keeps this theory alive and kicking. Oh, and let's not forget the hit-and-run theory. Some suggest Maura may have struck someone with her car, panicked, and took off. The idea here is that she might have been trying to escape the repercussions of an accidental crime. This theory does add a thick layer of urgency to her actions, doesn't it? Now, we must venture into more speculative terrain with the suicide theory. Given her emotional state and the troubles she faced, it's plausible some believe Maura could have been contemplating ending her life. But the lack of a body or tangible evidence makes this narrative difficult to support convincingly. Plus, would she have packed so many belongings and made detailed travel plans if she intended to end her life shortly after leaving? Then there's the help from a friend theory. This one posits that Maura had help from someone, maybe a friend or even an unknown accomplice, who assisted her in disappearing. After all, she had made some phone calls and sent emails indicating she was in touch with others before disappearing. Did someone help her vanish, or is this just another red herring in this labyrinthine case? And we can't ignore the second car theory. Witnesses saw another vehicle near her crash site. Could it have been a passerby who picked up Maura, either to help or, far worse, to harm her? Maybe this second car holds the answers we've searched for all these years. Finally, we have the more wild-eyed conspiracy theories that suggest everything from government black ops to deep cover identities. These theories often stretch the boundaries of plausibility, but make for some intriguing, if not eyebrow-raising reads. In evaluating each of these theories, we start to see the murky waters investigators had to wade through. The truth, they say, is out there, though it seems maddeningly elusive in Maura's case. Was it an accident compounded by a series of unfortunate events, or something far more sinister? With so many competing theories, the challenge is separating the possible from the improbable. So, what do you think? Could Maura have just walked away? Was she the victim of a crime or tragic accident? Or is the reality something we haven't even considered yet? Remember, while these theories spin plausible tales, they all come with gaps and questions begging for answers. Keep pondering, and maybe together with fresh eyes and open minds, we can edge a little closer to understanding what really happened to Maura Murray. Alright folks, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of the investigation into Maura Murray's disappearance. Spoiler alert, it's a whirlwind of confusion, red herrings, and just a dash of hope wrapped in mystery. When Maura first vanished on February 9, 2004, in the small town of Haverhill, New Hampshire, it sent ripples through the community and eventually across the country. The initial response was somewhat standard protocol. Call in the K-9 units, dispatch search teams, and set the rumor mill into overdrive. The night Maura's car was found abandoned, police conducted a cursory search of the immediate area. They noticed the car's airbags had deployed, the windshield cracked, and there was a box of wine in the back seat along with some personal belongings. Her cell phone and credit cards were never used again after that night. The scene laid out more questions than answers. Was it a simple breakdown? An intentional disappearance? Foul play? From the get-go, there were conflicting reports on Maura's supposed last movements. Some locals noted seeing a young woman who matched her description walking down the road, while others swore they saw her talking to someone in a vehicle. The early days were a flurry of frustrated searches, each spiraling into dead ends. As the investigation progressed, the family hired private investigators, including a former U.S. Marshal. These seasoned pros came equipped with a toolbox full of techniques, even some unconventional ones. Divers scoured the surrounding water bodies, volunteers assembled in impressive numbers for ground searches, and helicopters hovered with infrared sensors. And yet, Maura remained elusive. Significant findings were sparse. A rag stuffed in her car's tailpipe raised eyebrows. Did she intentionally try to disable her vehicle? Or was this some bizarre happenstance? Theories bounced between intentional self-harm, accidental death, and potential abduction, and each discovery seemed to support a different thread of inquiry. Fast forward to recent years and technology's intervention becomes the real game changer. Law enforcement now leans heavily on digital forensics and DNA analysis. Back in 2004, surveillance cameras weren't as ubiquitous, and smartphone data was non-existent. Now, advanced techniques mean revisiting old evidence with a fresh set of digital eyes. One notable development came when authorities dug up a basement of a house close to where Maura was last seen. Ground-penetrating radar suggested there might be something, but alas, just another rabbit hole. The search yielded no promising evidence. Enter social media's Sherlock Holmes, armchair detectives. Online forums like Reddit parse through every tidbit, scrutinizing timelines and analyzing interviews. Crowdsourcing, albeit controversial, shed light and added pressure to keep the case in the public consciousness. It showed the best and worst of human collaboration, with some theories bordering on absurd, while others offered valuable insights. In terms of good old-fashioned police work, tip lines continued to buzz, and just when it seemed to go silent, someone would come forward claiming to have seen Maura in a different state or country. Each lead was precious, yet maddeningly inconclusive. Let's not forget DNA advancements. This isn't just for crime-solving TV episodes. Today's technology propels real investigations. Even with no body, investigators are looking into familial DNA databases. This method, which has cracked open cold cases before, is the beacon of hope for Maura's family. Lastly, let's touch on the emotional toll and endless perseverance. Maura's father, Fred Murray, has been relentless. For years, he appeared on shows, gave interviews, and never missed an opportunity to keep his daughter's name alive in public discourse. Authorities have often expressed frustration over the gaps in Maura's acquaintances' testimonies and the secrets they might be holding on to. This cloak and dagger adds another layer of complexity. In the end, the Maura Murray case remains one of the most perplexing unsolved disappearances. It's a blend of small-town intrigue, shadowy secrets, and contemporary investigative breakthroughs, all stitched together. The hope is that modern advancements and continual public interest will someday crack it wide open. Until then, we wait, speculate, and keep the flame of curiosity burning brightly. Stay tuned, friends, because in the realm of restless killers and mysteries, you never know when the next twist is just around the corner. Before we dive back into the puzzle that is Maura Murray's disappearance, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for today's episode, Beyond the Grassy Knoll. How JFK's Death Changed American Society Forever by A.M. Wolfe. If you're fascinated by historical mysteries and enjoy unraveling the threads of conspiracy theories, this book is a must-read. A.M. Wolfe delves deep into the myriad ways President John F. Kennedy's assassination altered the course of American society, exploring both the overt changes and the subtle, under-the-radar shifts. Whether you're a history buff or a casual reader, this book offers intriguing insights and fresh perspectives on one of the most pivotal events in modern history. Don't just take my word for it. Head over to Amazon or Audible to grab your copy of Beyond the Grassy Knoll today. Dive into the complexities and uncover the lasting impact of that fateful day. Now, let's get back to the perplexing case of Maura Murray. Looking back on Maura Murray's case, we're left with more questions than answers. It's a story that grips you right from the start. A young woman with a bright future suddenly vanishes without a trace. We began by diving into Maura's background, understanding that she was a bright nursing student who seemingly had her whole life ahead of her. She was also a sister, a daughter, and for those closest to her, a beacon of promise, which makes her disappearance all the more perplexing. On the day Maura disappeared, February 9, 2004, she crashed her car on a rural road in New Hampshire. From her frantic phone calls to her sudden departure from her dorm room with very little explanation, the series of events that unfolded are as puzzling as they are heart-wrenching. The final known moments, her interactions with a concerned passerby, the iconic sighting of her car abandoned on Route 112, paint a picture shrouded in mystery. And let's not forget the timeline. It gives us a breadcrumb trail that keeps amateur sleuths and seasoned investigators alike coming back for more. Each timestamp, each interaction, and every odd twist adds a layer to this ever-complex case. Theories? We've got plenty to go around. From the possibility of Maura wanting to escape her life, to the darker possibilities of foul play, it's these very speculations that keep forums buzzing and true crime aficionados hooked. No theory seems definitive, which only fuels the intrigue. What about the investigation? There have been extensive searches, tips that lead to dead ends, and occasional developments that reignite public interest. New technology and methodologies offer a glimmer of hope, suggesting that we might one day uncover what really happened to Maura Murray. So where do we land in all of this? If Maura's case teaches us anything, it's that the truth is often stranger than fiction. It's a case that raises almost as many questions as it seeks to answer. What led Maura to that stretch of New Hampshire road? Why did she choose to leave her life behind, if she did at all? And perhaps the most aching question of all, what really happened that cold February night? As we close this chapter, I'm reminded of Occam's razor. Often, the simplest explanation is the right one. But in the case of Maura Murray, even the simplest explanations feel incredibly complex. It's the mystery that keeps many of us coming back. And maybe, just maybe, the hope that one day we'll uncover the truth. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into one of the most enduring mysteries of our time. I'll leave you with this. Every detail matters, every theory is worth considering. But most importantly, every person deserves to be found. That wraps up our deep dive into the perplexing case of Maura Murray. Thank you, dear listeners, for joining me on this journey through the bewildering, the mysterious, and the just plain strange. I hope today's episode shed some light on the enigma that is Maura Murray's disappearance, and perhaps left you with even more questions to ponder. If you enjoyed today's episode of Restless Killers and Mysteries with Roger Heilig, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our latest chilling tales and baffling cases. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Yes, that means Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all the other usual suspects. And hey, if you have a moment, please consider leaving us a review. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also makes it easier for other curious minds to discover the show. For those of you who are truly hooked, you can follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and previews of upcoming episodes. Just search for Restless Killers and Mysteries on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we've got coming up next. Let's just say it involves a tale so twisted it'll make your head spin. Again, a big shout out to today's sponsor, Beyond the Grassy Knoll, How JFK's Death Changed American Society Forever by A.M. Wolfe. Available on Amazon and Audible. It's a must-read for all you amateur sleuths and history buffs out there. Grab your copy today and dive into one of history's most controversial events. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, but sometimes it's hiding in plain sight. This is Roger Heilig, signing off from Restless Killers and Mysteries. See you on the next episode.